You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary
Good morning,
Watts.
everyone. I've got Matt Bissonnette here, SEAL Team 6. He's the author of 3 books, No Easy Day, No Hero, No Easy Way. His alias was Mark Owen in his books. TV producer of Navy SEALs, father, husband, motivational speaker. And he's here for this weekend's Warrior Rising event, which is Saturday night at the Hyatt Regency here in Coralville. Anyway, Matt, welcome. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
I've always wanted to talk to a Navy SEAL, so I'm so glad you're here. Appreciate your service, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy day, I'm sure, and what you're doing and coming in to seeing us.
Of course, happy to be here.
Okay. So let's start us out. I've always been fascinated with the SEALs, but let's talk about your early life. And I know you're from Alaska, but can you tell us a little bit about that when you were a child and your parents and family life and Alaska and whatever?
I grew up in a remote village in the middle of 350 miles northwest of Anchorage. Right, if you know Alaska at all, you know most of the towns are not on the road system. Right, I think the biggest town is at Anchorage. Fairbanks has 30,000 people, and I think only the top 5 towns in Alaska have more than 10,000 people. Right,
Wow.
Think of the numbers. This is not big numbers for your top 5 cities in Alaska have over 10,000. Less than 10,000 for your next 5. So I grew up in a village of 500 people on the Kuskokwim River. My parents were missionaries, and then my dad eventually in the village became the local magistrate, so like the local judge per se. Yeah, grew up there till graduated high school.
And three in your graduating class.
Yeah, mighty class of 3. I like to brag. I was the valedictorian. Don't ask my GPA, but I was the valedictorian.
And you bought a rifle, right? Or you bought a weapon?
I brought a lot of rifles in high school, but my first assault rifle was purchased from my history teacher after class for $700.
AR-15 or?
That's it.
Oh, that is so good. I love that. You left it in your locker, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can't do that down here, I don't think, anymore.
I remember when I was a senior, for my English class, we had to do some sort of demonstration speech, right? Demonstrate how to pour the coffee in the cup or whatever. So I called my principal and I asked if I could bring my 1911 in and demonstrate how to disassemble, clean the gun, and put it back together. The principal was like, "Yeah, sure, just don't bring any bullets."
Oh, so that's great.
Brought my 1911 for my demonstration speech.
But you drove a snowmobile to school, right?
Yep.
Wow, and so I'm sure it's cold and desolate in the winter, and so you probably did a lot of hunting and used the rifle and understood how to shoot.
No, we had one small store in the village, so you get a little bit of groceries or whatever if you needed there. Otherwise, it was hunt for your food, get stuff out of the river, and a garden. And my mom we'd go to Anchorage once a year, buy all the clothes for the year, and back to the village.
Tell us a story when I think your dad helped you with learning gun safety, and one time it discharged in the house. Can you tell us a little more about that, or what he taught you, and then how that never happened again?
I'd say he didn't teach me that well because I screwed it up.
Yeah.
You're always carrying firearms
right.
in Alaska, right? I lived in a log cabin. You step out the front door, you see a moose. That's dinner, so go shoot the moose. So it was not a abnormal thing to be around firearms growing up. And so, yeah, when I was real little, I had a little 22. I'd screwed up my clearing procedures to properly clear the gun when I had come back inside. And
you were cold and missed
I was
the
just
step.
in a hurry, young kid, missed the step and whatever it was, and I did the process wrong, and I shot a 22 round into the floor of our house. Good thing it was a log cabin, and nobody cares about a little bullet hole in the log cabin. But lesson learned.
You never forgot that.
Yeah.
Another thing I remember in your book was, and we'll get into the 3-foot world with SEALs because I find that really interesting, is if you're on the ice and it's thin and it starts to break, you lay down. You kind of like almost do snow angels so you don't go through. I just find that fascinating. Instead of freaking out and like running across it, you lay down. And did you ever do that? Have to do that?
No, I never had to do that. Generally, if I was on the ice, it was on a snowmobile, and if the ice was thin, speed up.
Right.
Faster you're going, you're just going to zip right across the thin ice, and you're fine.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, our school didn't cancel school unless it was 55 below zero or colder, right? The wind chill didn't count. So it could be 70 below with the wind chill, didn't count. It have to be 55 below regular temp. And if it was colder than 55, you could stay home from school.
How far away were you from school?
Everything in the village was very close. So maybe a 5-minute snowmobile ride. But I drove a snowmobile to school at 55 below zero with my fur hat on, and so you got to school. And you might have heard me say our high school mascot was the half-breed.
Yeah, I heard that.
Which you can Google it still to this day, right? It's the Eskimo and the white guy, and I say it all the time. I grew up as a minority in an Eskimo village, where the mascot were half-breeds, and everybody was proud of that heritage.
Right.
And I think that I liked it. I didn't know what I didn't know at that time.
Right.
But I traveled the world through the military, villages around the world, and I don't know. I think growing up as a half-breed in a village helped me tremendously as I traveled the world as a Navy SEAL.
What'd you learn from Eskimos, that culture?
What do you learn? That you don't know everything.
Right.
That you're not the expert in the local area, right? I wasn't from the village. I moved to the village. So you find the elders and the people that live there and live there the longest, and you soak up all the information they're willing to share with you.
Imagine they're tough, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Probably don't sit around and complain, and they just make the best of things, right?
Yep.
That's neat. So let's get to progress to the SEALs. What were you thinking? It sounded like you always wanted to be a SEAL. I know you traveled to D.C. Were you 15, 16, and you met a SEAL, and you had your shirt on. He kind of whispered and said, you're not a SEAL yet. You might take that off.
I was the young kid who just read the books, right? I wanted to serve. My parents were missionaries. They had instilled in me a service mentality. Like, the service thing. Okay, I want to serve my country. And then all these books I read about, these SEALs seemed like the crazy ones, and it just seemed like this really, really hard, challenging thing. And I read the Army, that all the books,
right?
And I kept coming back to the SEAL teams, and so that was it.
So you went into the Navy, or did you go to school or college?
I went to college first. I think my folks wanted the 4 years of school to maybe talk me out of the military or something.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. At college was college.
Right.
I'm not a fan. I got my degree and then enlisted and continued on with what I wanted to do.
So do you have to tell us about that? You're in the Navy now. Were you enlisted for like a year before you started trying out for the SEALs, or?
No, there's different programs you can join, or different programs you can do. I knew I wanted to be a SEAL. I knew I wanted to go directly to SEAL training. I didn't want to go spend 5 years in the Navy. Right. Swabbing decks on a ship doesn't get me to the SEAL team. So there's different programs you can sign up for, and you have to take a physical fitness test ahead of time. If you pass that and pass the requirements, they'll be like, okay, yeah, we'll allow you to come to Navy boot camp. You have to pass some tests in boot camp, but if you pass those tests, we'll send you straight to SEAL training. And so that's what I did.
So tell us about SEAL training. Lots publicized about that. I mean,
it's hard. Everybody quits.
Yeah, everybody quit. You said
you've heard the stories.
Yeah, you had to have that mindset. You just don't quit. Never quit.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was mine, right? Everybody has their own mindset. I'm not going to speak for other guys getting through the program. You might have a different mindset. You might have a different mindset. Everybody's got their own thing that drives them from quitting, right? And for me, it was just like I'm not quitting. Just don't have that word. I didn't go there to quit. I'm not going to quit. I read everything. I knew exactly how hard it would be. I think I set the expectations even harder in my mind than maybe it was in reality. So it wasn't as bad. And I got lucky, right? I didn't get hurt and I went right through.
How did you prepare yourself mentally for SEAL training? I mean, physically, it sounds like you're in shape, right? I mean, you wouldn't show up there and not being in shape, would you?
Yeah, no. I mean, you're an idiot if you're going to go to SEAL training and not be in shape. Like, you're not going to last long. You know what's coming. You're going to go step into this where they're going to physically crush you. So better physically get prepared for that crushing. The mentality side of things, I didn't do anything to prepare. I just jumped in the deep end. I think, you talk to some of these guys, they go take cold showers or something in the morning. You're like, well, that's stupid. You just froze your butt off before you're going to have to freeze your butt off. Right. Cold is cold. You don't get better at being cold. So,
And you're cold a lot, right? Aren't you in the ocean?
that's the name of the game, is make you miserable, right?
Just
If it's a summer SEAL training class, a summer buds class, right? The temperatures are a little warmer, so it's hard to punish you. So they may make you run a little more. The winter classes are a lot colder, so they may make you run less, but they'll just make you cold. And that temperature, set 100 people out back in the winter, spray them with water, and just wait to see how many quit.
Yeah. And you're out there for hours, right? In the ocean?
Yeah, hours, weeks, days, months, whatever.
Yeah. And you're carrying boats a lot. Are they in and out of the surf?
Constantly moving, constantly going, constantly unaware of what's coming next, and just told to complete, do this, do this, do this. You never know what's coming next. It's just complete this, get that done, complete this. Go run north. Now you go out to the beach, right? You can only run north or south. So
Right.
you start running north with the instructors. They run all the way north to, there's another base up there, and you got to turn around. You're like, okay, sweet. We're heading back to the starting point. You run back down the beach, past where you started, and keep running south. Well, then you run all the way south, almost to Mexico. All right. You turn around when you get to the Mexico border, and you turn around, you're running back north. You're thinking, okay, sweet. When we get back to the starting point, we're going to stop. We've already been all the way north. We've already been all the way south. And what do the instructors do? They slow down as they're running back from the south back to the starting point. They slow down like they're going to stop, and then they run right through it and keep running north again. And you'll see 10 people quit, right? They run north to the gate. They run south. And you think they're going to stop again here. They slow down. Then they speed up. 10 people quit. And you just keep doing that type of thing, the mind games.
Wow.
The weak-minded will leave.
Is that where the 3-foot world came into effect, or started learning? Is that more combat?
I did not get the 3-foot world mindset and principle until much later on in my career. That was there's a lot of stuff in the SEAL community that makes you uncomfortable. There's a lot of stuff in life that makes people uncomfortable. And I think in the SEAL in the SEAL world, they do a good job of training you to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Combat is not comfortable, right? A lot of things we do are not comfortable. So you have to be comfortable in an uncomfortable space. So, okay, I was very committed to making sure I was good in those uncomfortable situations, right? Heights, skydiving, rock climbing made me nervous. When I was a new SEAL, that was not something that was natural to me. I'd never been skydiving before. I'd never done a lot of rock climbing. It was nervous to me when I'd rock climb. So I was committed to overcoming my fear in that. So when we would train, I would raise my hand, sign up for training that made me very uncomfortable. Rock climbing, skydiving, so I could overcome that fear. I sign up for a rock climbing trip. When we do these training trips, we hire the best civilian instructors we can. So whether we're skydiving, we're hiring the Red Bull skydivers, right? If we're rock climbing, we're hiring the best rock climbers out there. So you're our instructor. I'm climbing, right? We're climbing this cliff. It's several hundred feet vertical.
And there's no net down below. And you're
no net. You got your rope, and that's it. That's it. And so I'm climbing, and I'm the first guy going up, lead climbing, setting all the stuff. And the higher I climb, the more nervous I get. Makes sense,
right?
I get about halfway up this cliff, and I'm getting more and more nervous to the point where now I'm not climbing. I'm just kind of hanging on. I can look up. I can see I'm only halfway there. Right? I can look out and see the skyline. I can look down, and now all of a sudden I see my friends, and they're down there heckling me, talking smack, because they can see that I'm stuck and I'm in a situation. So the world-class rock climbing instructor sees that I'm stuck, and he decides to come up and help me. So there I am, stuck on the side of this face, not climbing. Rock climbing instructor climbs all the way up next to me. We're about 150 feet, 200 feet in the air, no rope. No rope at all. You climb up about 4 feet to my left. You're hanging on. You reach in your pocket and you light a cigarette. Now you're hanging on with one hand, smoking a cigarette. And you look at me. You're like, hey, Matt, you need to stay in your 3-foot world. I don't know what you're talking about. Put your cigarette out. Hook into my rope. We'll be safe. He says it a couple more times until it sinks in. He wanted me to focus on my 3-foot world.
Right,
Each one of us can reach about 3 feet in any direction. It's the only control I had over anything in that time in my life, right, or in that space. He saw that I was worrying about things outside my control. Right? What's the moral of the story? How many of us worry about things outside of our control that we have no effect on?
Can't control it anyway.
A lot. And in the military, it's daily. Right? You wake up in the morning, turn on the news, whatever it is. You have 6 million things in your life that you cannot change.
Right.
You have some that you can. Okay. So the moral of the story is be all in all the time. Be very focused on my 3-foot world and ignore the rest.
Wow. That's true. Like running a marathon or doing a swim, anything. You got to stay within yourself.
That's it. We got, after the Bin Laden raid, we got back on the helicopter to fly home. Right. I get in the helicopter and the whole cockpit's flashing red. Yeah. I'm a little sensitive because we've crashed once that night. Now there's flashing red lights and buzzers and stuff going off. I don't know anything about that.
Right.
I literally turned my back to the front of the helicopter. Not my job.
Yeah.
It's the helicopter pilot's job. I'm not going to worry about that outside of my 3-foot world.
So in Bud's training, you have what they call your bobbin, where they tie your hands behind your back and cinch up your feet up to your hands, and then throw you in, and you got to breathe. That's got to be.
You don't have to breathe. You just got to stay afloat.
You got to stay afloat.
Then breathe.
So
they go hand in hand.
So you're not treading water. You're just kind of poking up there and trying to float. Is that to overcome if it's tight spaces, or you're going to freak, hyperventilate?
I think it's comfortable being uncomfortable. If most people go to the pool right now, we tie your hands behind your back, tie your feet, and throw you in the pool. You're going to seize up and sink.
Yeah.
You're not going to be comfortable. You're not going to relax in that setting. You're just going to cinch up and sink. And
so you have to calm yourself.
Well. So it's a perfect example of teaching you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We're going to tie you up, throw you in the water. You may drown. Let's see how good you are at it.
Wow. Some guys, I suppose, do freak, don't they? And they got to pull them out.
Never to be seen again.
Yeah. What's
my class started with 180, 23 originals graduated. So,
wow.
And the vast majority of those candidates they didn't get kicked out because they couldn't complete the exercise. They quit on their own. The vast majority of people in SEAL training, it's not that they can't pass the test. It's that they quit on their own. Then there's a contingent that can't pass the tests and they don't make it. But the majority self-select out because they don't think they can do it and they're out.
I saw something else where you have your air tanks on and they go down, they tear your mask off, tie your hoses, and that's just like to get you. You got to do
the basics, day one stuff.
That stuff.
What do they do on day 200?
Yeah, wow, that's just.
And I suppose that's just buds. That's just to get you in the door.
And so what the buds instructors are trying to do is get you ready for combat. So even though it may not, but they're trying to get you ready for combat. Or what it's like to deal
that's
with
the whole point of it is trying to get the guys ready for situations where they're going to be uncomfortable, have to make good decisions, and communicate amongst the team.
So now you graduate from buds. Then what happens? You graduate you're in the SEAL teams.
Yeah, you won the lottery ticket, right? You've made it through. Now you go to a SEAL team, and then you're on probation for a year.
Right.
So you're still a new guy. You screw anything up, you're out. Like the pressure's still there. It comes off a little bit because you've graduated, but you're still new, and you gotta put up or shut up.
You practice with weapons, C4, all the
everything.
Demolition. You go through the whole thing. They're going.
All of it. Yeah. You then do a full 1.5 year workup with your platoon, where for 1.5 years you're traveling the world, training, getting ready to deploy.
So when did you want to be on SEAL Team 6? When did that come to you? And start out in the SEALs, or did you always want to be with the best of the best?
I'd done enough reading before I got in that I kind of understood the world. I understood there was a different element at a different level. And I understood if I was going to try this world, why wouldn't I try this level?
Right.
So I was at least going to try. But yeah, nobody's worried about this when you're graduating buds. Just get through buds.
Right.
Then get to a SEAL team. Figure out what you need to do and what your job description is at a SEAL team. You're new. You've just come out of buds. You don't know anything. Figure out your world, and maybe after 5 years of doing this, if you still want to go to the big leagues, you can raise your hand and try out.
And how long were you in the SEAL teams before you went to those at the green team where you try out?
5 years, and then you raise your hand and
you want to go there.
Yeah.
So what was that like, the training for the SEAL Team 6? Different from what the SEAL teams were?
a lot different, a lot harder, 2 totally different machines completely.
How so?
Buds was just, you're off the street. You're a nobody. We just want to see if you have what it takes to be a SEAL, or are you going to quit when it gets cold and people start yelling at you? Right. That's Buds. Selection and training to get into my previous unit was not basic in any, right? You've been a SEAL for 5 years. The expectations are sky high. And so now it was much more performance based. If you weren't the best of your cohort, we didn't want you. So this was now much more performance based to get into the big leagues.
So mentally, how did you prepare for a mission? How do you get ready for that? Because you've had hundreds of missions, right?
Yeah. No. Like you go into a basketball game or whatever, right? We did it every night. I only rehearsed for one of them in 13 deployments, right? Every other op was, okay, here's the mission. Let's come up with a plan and let's go do it.
Right.
So you just had to be ready. It wasn't like a spin up or like get mentally prepared. It was you're always mentally prepared or you're not. And if you're not always mentally prepared, we don't need you.
So tell us about the Captain Phillips was first, that raid, wasn't it? Or it wasn't a raid, but just taking care of that.
Sure, you saw the movie.
Yeah. And you had to jump in, right?
Yeah.
To get on the destroyer. So you want to tell us about that, how you pulled
There's
that
a movie about it. People want to watch it.
Right.
It's pretty accurate. Yeah. Tom Hanks was not there with us.
He wasn't. So they took over the ship, the Maersk or the Alabama Maersk or whatever, and they took it over, and then they had him in that little lifeboat.
Yeah, they had four pirates took over the Maersk, put the captain in the life raft, got off the ship, life raft was trying to get to shore. We got called, flew over, jumped in, shot our 3 pirate friends. There was a 4th one that had been wounded, right? We'd pulled him off of the life raft during the negotiation sequence. He's alive and well. He's in a New York penitentiary where the other 3 are dead.
But you had snipers you had to shoot when it's pitching, the deck's rolling, the bobbing around, and it took them out all at the same time.
Yep.
That's just amazing to me. It's fascinating to me.
Don't believe the movies. More than 3 shots, but yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of nighttime operations. There was no set of instructions for that event, right? That was, hey, we have an issue. We have a problem we need to solve. Put us on a plane, flew 19 hours overseas, parachuted out of the plane, got down on the water, and had teams start making good decisions. Good decisions led to that.
And when you jumped out, did you have your weapons with you, or were they on? You had to bring everything with you.
Yep.
And you hit the water and then swam over to the ship.
Yep. I had I jump tandems or passengers, so I had another Navy guy who needed to be jumped in, so he was strapped to the front of me, not non-SEAL. Otherwise, he would have jumped out with his own parachute. But this was a non-SEAL type that needed to go, so he was strapped to the front of me, and we went out together.
Wow. So now, obviously, your most famous mission was you're with the team that took out Osama Bin Laden. You want to tell us about that? The planning.
Again, he dies in the end.
Yeah.
I got movies about all this stuff.
Yeah. But you want to go through the planning and how the chopper hung on the wall, or what do you want to talk about there?
What do you want to talk about?
Just the planning of the mission. I mean, how many, you knew the buildings probably inside and out. You knew where to go. You took off.
Didn't necessarily know all of that. No, did not know what was necessarily inside the buildings. We had a rough plan, right? And then our plan went sideways when my helicopter crashed, and so everything kind of had to evolve a little bit on the fly. But I think if you do things under pressure enough, you realize it's the basics that will always work out, right? So if we had some 30 point contingency plan with 30 contingencies of what to do if this happened or that happened, I wouldn't have remembered past contingency 2, right? When somebody's shooting at you, it's going to be really hard to remember PowerPoint slide 12, contingency 38. It's not going to happen, right? So keep the plans very simple so that when the plans go sideways, you can continue as simply as you can through your plan. And so we had a pretty big, significant setback with the crash, but we were able to move through that situation smart enough to not make it catastrophic.
And the back wheel or tire on the chopper hung on that 12-foot wall, outside wall. If it hadn't have caught it.
Yeah. We got really, really lucky with the height of the wall, the way we hit. Arguably, we should not have, in my opinion, we should not have made it through that crash the way it happened. But it happened the way it happened, and here I am. So I don't know.
You were in the door, right?
Yeah, I was in the left door.
Oh.
So you're watching yourself come down. You go, we're going to crash, and then it catches the wall, and it just stops.
Not necessarily watching myself come down. Just you're sitting in your chair, 40 feet up. And you're getting ready to push a rope out of the helicopter, grab the rope, and slide down. And the helicopter turns 90, tilts sideways. You're sitting in this door, and you're going in.
And it catches that. Boy, that. And then you got to get out and run and you got 30 minutes to do your mission.
Yes.
So you want to tell us anything at all about the mission?
He dies in the end. Yeah.
You took off and you get going and got all kinds of things happening, huh? How many SEALs hit that? 22? Was there 22?
24 on the initial 2 helicopters. We had extra SEALs. There was much more than 24 guys involved in this mission. There were 24 SEALs that went directly to the compound. We had additional SEALs and backup helicopters, additional pilots. We had a very large team, but 24 assaulters went to the target.
And you knew that was Osama Bin Laden in there, or the intel, or you didn't really know. You verified
somebody significant lived there, and we were going to figure it out.
And it was a lady that found him or paid attention. That was a CIA operative, or
watch the movie.
Yeah,
the CIA gave him the movie. So
how accurate is the movie?
Like I said, he dies in the end.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate, or
ish.
Can I ask this? Your demolitions, you're a gear guy, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of demolitions involved with that, getting through doors, locked doors, lugging the helicopter up. What's it like carrying all that different equipment around and being ready to prepare and use it?
It's what you do every day. Like you're running all your controls and your systems over there, and it's just normal. Same thing. Right.
How much is to carry? Like your bolt cutters, multiple sets of explosives.
Explosives are lighter than you think.
Really?
Yep. Very light. Put it on very much lighter than a hand grenade, right? So, yeah, lots of different tools to accomplish different tasks, but they're all tools we've trained with and used for a decade plus. So to do them at night with the fellas is not that hard.
You're the best of the best. That's what it is.
I didn't say that. I just said we've done it a long time, and yeah.
So Faith was with you that night, right? When the wheel caught up it kind of strengthens your faith, right? There was another mission and it was, I don't know where you were landing. I don't know if it was in Fallujah or on top of an Iraqi building, and they missed they were one over from the building.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
If you'd have been in that building you should have been in, it would have been good, right?
Yeah.
You were kind of.
I mean, honestly, you when you're younger, you maybe have the situation where the helicopter lands on the wrong house and you think, oh man, helicopter pilot screwed up or whatever. There was a mistake. But for the one you're thinking of, right, our helicopter landed one house too far. Well, had we landed on the right house, the odds are we would have entered into a whole bunch of guys on the top floor and maybe not made it, right? I've had lots and lots of situations where in the moment you think, wow, this didn't go as planned. Oh, I'm bummed. But then in hindsight, you realize had it gone according to plan, you wouldn't have made it. So from a faith aspect, I grew up religious, right? I grew up Christian faith. My parents seeing it, and the military. My faith was easier. It was very challenging. Don't get me wrong, because I dealt with death all the time. But my faith at least gave me some sort of comprehension of explanation why. Because I could not come up with a reason on my own, right? Why one of my best friends would get killed and I wouldn't, right? Why their helicopter get shot down and not ours? I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand a lot of this stuff. But if you have faith, you're like, okay, well, my lack of understanding, there's somebody somewhere controlling some stuff, and that's how I dealt with I've had a lot of issues where I've had guys with a belt-fed machine gun 20 feet in front of me pop up and miss. I've crept into a room this size with 5 dudes with guns, and
point blank,
I got it done before they did, right? I've had, woke guys up in the middle of the night and they're sleeping with a suicide vest on. I've had parachutes malfunction at 20,000 feet at night. I've had all of those things, and but somehow I've made it through it. My biggest faith struggles has really been more when I got out as a civilian, because I thought the civilian world was going to be easy compared to what I had lived.
Yeah. So did combat techniques or operations change over time? It sounded like you had to at one time, like, hey, we're here, put your guns down, kind of like the police do here, as opposed to sneak up and take care of business. Is that? I'm sure that'd be frustrating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think the tactics evolve with any war or anywhere. Your tactics should be evolving. The rules of engagement that were pushed down on us from leadership got worse and worse through my multiple trips overseas, and that was part of the reason that I ended up getting out of the military, because I didn't want to continue signing on the dotted line for the idiots that were continuing to send us
harder
back.
to do your mission. It sounded like, if
For sure, they're trying to tie 2 hands behind your back, and you're playing a life or death mission, and they're trying to tie hands behind your back. You don't play life or death missions, with your hands tied behind your back.
I think that was in Lone Survivor, the show I watched, Marcus Luttrell, when they had certain things they couldn't do or engage. And did you know Luttrell, or do you know him?
We were wearing buds together.
Yeah, really. That was quite an operation. The movie, of course, had Mark Wahlberg and those guys, but I don't know how he lived through all that training or just divine intervention, but how he kept going is amazing to me. So let's get into, and then shortly after the Bin Laden raid, which is the most famous raid in our time, we were after him, it seems like 10 years, and your team, took care of business. What else? I think it was it 7 months after that you got out of the SEAL team? You were in, 14 years, and you decided that's enough?
Yep.
Was it 2012?
We got back from the mission, and my neck started hurting, my legs started hurting. I'm like, what's all this? Like hot flashes all the way down my leg. Didn't understand what it was. It was all significant neck and back injuries from the crash. I think 8 out of 12 guys on the bird have all experienced some neck and back issues.
Right.
So medically was hurt. I'd done 13 straight tours at that point, and Captain Phillips doesn't count as a tour. Bin Laden doesn't count as a tour.
Right.
You have to do at least 3 months overseas or longer to count as a tour, right? So there's lots of missions,
right, in between.
But tours could be hundreds of missions on a tour, right? So 13 tours. I was in a team leader position, right? Post team leader, you kind of move up to a little bit more of the non-operational world, right? And I'd always joined to be the guy creeping in the front door, not the guy typing and talking on the radios in the back. And so felt like a good time for me to get out.
Well, let's talk about, let's maybe shift to your books, and then I want to talk a little bit about what it's like when you do get out. How's that sound? So the first one you wrote was No Easy Day, right?
Yes.
I believe so. I don't know if you can see that. Do you have that on whatever? So do you want to maybe take us through with your mindset and what you were thinking about writing this book, and trying to put it all in one. It's a amazing book, I think. And I had read this way a long time ago. It came out how long ago?
2012?
12,
Ish,
yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah. You just want to talk about that a little bit? I just think
honestly, we came back from the mission, right? Came back from the Bin Laden mission, and we knew almost immediately that the President Obama,
right,
Admiral McCraven, head SEAL in charge of the unit, Leon Panetta, director of the CIA, all of them were giving their own stories and their own versions, right? The movie Zero Dark 30 was completely sponsored by the administration gave the CIA permission to give them the movie or the book or the movie. So I knew everybody, I knew a lot of leadership in our country was all telling that story for their own
political,
right? There was a big presidential reelection campaign that year.
Yeah.
And everybody knew that people would be taking advantage of their heroic decision-making in D.C. and all this nonsense. Like I said, I was the kid who grew up in a village in Alaska. I am the furthest thing from political. I'm not a fan of most politicians. And I wanted to tell the story. It's like, look, I read all these books. The reason I served and sacrificed and did everything that I did was because I'd read these books growing up. First book I ever read about a SEAL was Men with Green Faces by an author, Gene Wentz, former SEAL, Vietnam era guy. I've since got to meet him. Like we exchanged books. I thought that was a really cool moment. So I wanted to write the book. I wanted to give the historic account, but I didn't want to be in front of it, right? So I didn't want to put my face on it. I didn't put my name on it. I'm no cooler, tougher, more special than anybody else that I ever served with. So I wasn't trying to write the book and say, hey, look at me, I'm some sort of tough guy. That's why I write the disguise on 60 Minutes and the pseudonym. So yeah, wrote the book, and I think I accomplished in doing what I was doing from the writing standpoint. I'm proud of what I put in the book. Of course, the government then came after me for not getting the book reviewed, and that became a legal nightmare.
Who had to review that? Department of Defense?
Yep.
And they didn't, and they came after you and sued you, and then...
I hired an attorney, right? I'd never published a book before. I don't know all the rules to publish a book, so I hired a former SOCOM, Special Operations Command JAG, who'd been in the Army. He'd been a lawyer in the Army. He'd been a lawyer for SOCOM, Special Operations Command. I hired him and said, hey, how do I do this? I'll follow your advice to a T. He's like, okay, here you go. I can review the book. I can clear it. Okay, check. I assumed everything he was saying was correct. We published the book, and the government goes high and right. My attorney continues to tell me we're in the right. I don't have to get it reviewed. Well, the government sounds pretty pissed, and my attorney's telling me he doesn't have to, so I hired another attorney, second opinion, all this nonsense. And so then starts a 12-year legal battle with our government for publishing that book.
Wow. It's just how financially, and they wanted all the revenue from the book, right?
They wanted to crush me.
Right.
Our government did not like the fact that I put out a narrative that was different than theirs before a second presidential election for President Obama, who wanted all the credit for his heroic decision-making. I try to be very apolitical in the book. I think I call Biden the drunk uncle. Mm-hmm. No offense. I spent 45 minutes with him. This was when he was the vice president, right? We met him and Obama. Biden was like, I reference him as the drunk uncle that shows up at Thanksgiving, right? You don't know who he is. He's kind of the random one. He's a little handsy. He's trying to rub everybody's shoulders. You don't rub Navy SEAL shoulders and get away with it. And then all of his jokes were really inappropriate. Like, who's the drunk uncle? That was Biden. I reference him as the drunk uncle in the book. And then President Obama, while we're there with him, we're getting our photos and all this nonsense. And he's like, look, I want you guys to come to the residence and have a beer with me. Yeah. What do you mean? He's talking about coming to the White House and having they do the women's soccer team and whoever wins all the sporting events, they go to the White House and they get some time with the man. Okay, great. It's a sitting president who just authorized your mission that you just went on to get him reelected, by the way. You risked your life for him. He just invites you to the White House. I don't care where you sit politically. You go to the White House, you put your uniform on, and you respect that event. Do you think he ever followed up and invited us?
No.
Nope. So that's the two political shots I take is, hey, I bet you voted for change too, because Obama was all talk and then nothing happened, right? He invited us to the White House, the guys who risked their life for him, for his reelection campaign. You invite us for a beer and then don't follow up. Probably not going to get a lot of Christmas cards from the SEALs anytime soon. So that's the only two political shots I take in the book. Other than that, I just try and tell the story of how you become a SEAL, the big picture of it.
So how did you make it through these 12 years? I mean, how
you got to read my next book and find out.
No Hero? Or no,
I wrote No Hero 2 to 3 years after No Easy Day because I was fighting my government, right? They outspend you legally. I did 13 straight combat tours. I got a plaque with my name misspelled when I got out. That is it, right? No pension, no retirement. I got a plaque with Matt with one T in it, M-A-T. So to think that I had some sort of retirement or pension or anything in order to be able to fight the accusations from my own government, which were unjust and total bullshit, I had to pay for it. So I wrote another book, used that money to continue my fight. We settled with the government over No Easy Day. They then, when I say settled, they're like, we want all the money back. Like, okay, just leave me alone. They were like, they're trying to put me in jail. They're trying to accuse me of felony charges. They're like, if you don't plead to a felony, we'll come after you for a misdemeanor. I'm like, I haven't done anything criminal. Prove any of this. And so they said, we want all the money back from No Easy Day. I said, okay, fine, take it. Well, I had spent, and this is how your government, our amazing government, takes down guys like us. They outspend you on lawyers.
Yeah, and they can.
They have unlimited attorneys.
Yeah.
I got no pension, no retirement, and I've got to put up a fight against the government who will come after me with unlimited attorneys and then disappear for 9 months. I pay bills every month for my legal bills, and they disappear for 9 months. So 10 years out, right? They want all the book money back from No Easy Day. I had spent $1.5 million of it on my legal defense to fight them. So they said, look, we want all the money back and we want the money you've spent. But we'll leave you alone. I said, okay, leave me alone. I'll pay you back. So then I went and sued my attorney that I had hired. Right. I gave up attorney-client privilege. I did all this. I wanted the government to look through my emails so they could see the advice from counsel I got. The government didn't bother. They didn't even look. All they wanted to do was paint me in a bad light and screw me. So I gave up attorney-client privilege. They didn't look at any of that. They just looked at everything they could to continue to hound me.
Even when
settled No Easy Day. They took all the money from that. Now I've got a payment plan, right? I owe them $1.5 million and they want it in 3 years. I don't know who you are or how much you make, but I got to make 2.5, pay taxes on it, then pay the rest to the government, and I still don't get a loss on it. So I sue my attorney. I win because everything's plain as day. I got him dead to rights. Every bit of legal advice he ever gave me is in the emails that I gave up attorney-client privilege to show the government, and they never looked at it. So I have a winning malpractice case, right? That shows I sued my attorney that gave me all the bad advice. I go back to the government. I said, look, I got a winning malpractice case here that proves he's culpable in my decision-making to publish without a pre-publication review, which is the only thing they got me on for that book. Said, we don't care. So I went back to them. I gave them all my tax returns for the past 10 years. I'm like, guys, I can't pay you $1.5 million in 3 years. Give me a payment plan. So they gave me a payment plan for the next 15 years, $3,800 a month for 15 years. And if I don't miss a payment, they won't come back after me. If I miss one payment, they'll come back after me, and who knows what they'll try and do. So I got to the end of all that this last year when they assigned me my payment plan, and that's when I was like, okay, I've got to write the story to tell the world about what has happened to me, because they will never believe what our government's done to me. No. Yeah. So that's No Easy Way, right?
And that's coming out.
That will hopefully be out, and we're slowly hearing good news of the government reviewing it, right? Because they've got to review it like they did the first one. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping it'll be out by Father's Day this year.
Great, because I know you can order or pre-order. It seems like.
We put it on pre-order, so we can help. That helps me a little bit get some pre-orders going.
They not only went after you, but any of your friends. So if somebody emailed you and said, "Hey, man, I need a copy of the book," they went after them.
Yep, that's our government.
Everybody that was connected to you, or even anybody you talked to,
If
after all you did for your country.
If the government if anybody wants to go after you, they're going to go after your friends, your family. They're going to twist them, turn them against you, and manipulate you into taking an agreement that you don't want to take.
So I want to also talk to you a little bit about when you guys have been in combat. You know, obviously they throw around PTSD a lot, which I can't imagine, but I imagine all of you have that or suffer from it. And then you mentioned something like, what was it called? It was called LTSD, lack of traumatic, whatever. So
that's from a Army buddy of mine that I worked with a long time on the CBS SEAL Team show. He was blown up real bad in Iraq. Former Army Ranger, went to one of their premier units. Blown up, had a bad exit, right? And I love this guy. And he's like, Biss, he's like, we don't have PTSD, right? I'm like, I don't think I have PTSD. I sleep just fine. I don't have any of those types of issues per se. He's like, look, we have LTSD. I'm like, what do you mean LTSD? He's like, we have lack of traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
I'm like, okay, break this down for me. Explain it. And it's the best way I've ever heard it explained. He's like, okay, I'll use me as an example. I did 13 straight tours, right? All 13 were combat related. All 13. That was my day job. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I liked it, right? I was good at it. I enjoyed it. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday, me and my friends were going to creep into your house with you and your friends, and we were going to sort that out up close and personal. I did that for a decade. Over a decade, right? 3 days a week. We're gonna go creep into your house and deal with you.
Right.
Just rough numbers, right? I'm trying to give an average here. That's your norm. That's your day job. That's what you're used to. That's your happy place. You don't hate going to work. You like going to work. You want to be there. You are in the most chaotic situations of combat. You are the most calm because that's what you do, right? You don't freak out when the bullets start shooting. You're like, oh, this is what we do. You calm down and you do what you do. Okay. But you do that really good at a really high level for a really long time. The next day you turn in your ID card and you leave the Navy. You drive out into the civilian world and you are not getting shot at. You have lack of traumatic stress in your life. Every bit of traumatic stress that made you feel anything for the past decade, that stress made you feel normal. That made you feel like you were at home and I was fine, right? Without that stress, guys get out, you leave, nobody's shooting at you, nobody's jumping out of planes, nobody's doing all the crazy stuff that we did to get those spikes or whatever it's creating. You have lack of traumatic stress disorder. And when Tyler explained that to me, I'm like, holy smokes, that's literally the best for me. For me personally, my process of getting out, my dealing with my PTSD, LTSD, whatever, best way I've ever heard it described.
Have you heard anything with veterans on using psychedelics or trying to?
Sure.
Yeah. Is that a good thing?
A ton of friends doing it. I think so. I have not done it yet. Not saying never.
Right.
I have a ton of friends who've done it, and it has been life-changing for, I think, about all of them.
Really? That's good.
I call it the come to Jesus moment.
Do they see what happened, or they come?
I won't speak for them.
Okay.
They all have their own experiences, their own journeys.
Right.
What I call it is the come to Jesus moment, right? I feel like they go to Mexico or wherever they go for these journeys. Some of the psychedelic plant-based medicine stuff puts them in another dimension, and they have an event where they come back and they feel like something massive has changed, and they need to do something else in their life, take a new path, whatever it is. I call it the come to Jesus moment, where they come back. Maybe they stop drinking. Maybe right they're all then undertake other new steps in their life, and so yeah, I think it's been a positive thing. I don't think it's been negative at all.
Seems like a good thing.
Yeah.
I think in certain states they legalize. I think Colorado, Oregon. I think I don't know all the different things called the toad and whatever all the things for veterans. So So I know you talked a little bit about your surgeries where you tried to reach out to the VA. What I found just disturbing, fascinating is now you're out. Now you're a nothing kind of. I mean, here you are.
You're nothing. You're just in the system.
Yeah, you're in the system. Yeah, right.
Nothing. Right, that's it.
But you're a warrior. And here you are, the elite warrior, and then now here you are. You're in the system. Like, okay.
That's it.
And so you try to go to the VA. Hey, I need help. You want to tell us a little bit about that and who helped you with that, the surgeries?
Yeah, man. Not the VA. Right. The VA didn't help with anything. I mean, I'd basically broken my neck in the helicopter crash. And I'd gone to the VA. Well, I went to the active duty Navy medical when I first got back. And they're like, oh, you got a torn rotator cuff. So they operated on my shoulder. I'm like, okay, but my neck still hurts. Interesting. I went in with a neck problem. They fixed my shoulder. I come out with a neck problem. I'm now a civilian. And I'm going to the VA for this neck issue that I just can't. I don't know what's going on. It's just off. It's off. And for a year and a half, I never even got an MRI. I just got fed pain meds.
They didn't give you an MRI. They wouldn't.
Never even got one. So no specialist, no anything. It was the basic doctor, and we'll take this medicine. Take this medicine. And I have friends who've taken the medicine and then shot themselves. Right? I've had friends. So I just didn't want to take the pain meds, and eventually through friends of friends, I met a civilian, former Air Force trained. Civilian neck and back surgeon in Los Angeles who had his own practice now. And he's like, hey, come on in. I'll take a look at you. He gave me x-rays and MRI, and I met with the specialists in like an hour and a half time frame. And he's like, listen, clear your schedule. We got to operate on this. Your neck's broken. I'm like, really? I've been riding dirt bikes and skydiving and running around. He's like, a bad speed bump. You'll never walk again. Please stop. And like 2 weeks later or whatever it was, he called me back into his office, fused me, and then he's done 3 more through the back, 2 more through the front. He started a foundation. I'm on the board of his foundation. That foundation then covers the cost for other veterans who are not getting service through the VA. And he's worked on probably 5 to 7 of my other veteran friends who needed help and can't get it.
What is the deal with the VA? Is it just the apathy? Is it just government? Is it just how they?
What government system do you believe?
Yeah.
What government program does work?
Yeah. Not many.
It's gotten to the point where I look at all the systems out there, and I don't see the systems that are working optimally.
Maybe air traffic controllers, but
well, let's hope that one doesn't break down any further than it already is, right?
But it's a shame to me for veterans not to take care of veterans after what you guys do.
I don't think that's ever changed in this country, and I don't think it will.
Yeah.
Unless they privatize veteran health care, which I don't see happening. More of the status quo.
Yeah. So again, you're out of the SEAL unit and or out of the Navy, and then you're in civilian life. And it sounds like those 10 or 12 years you've been fighting with the government and whatnot. What else were you doing? And then where are you at today? Come to today. I was just trying to get through how you made it through all that with the lawyers and the government and all that. And then tell me what you're focused on now as you get through all that.
Still working on the government and the lawyers nonsense. I mean, that's not done. It's not behind us.
Still not done.
Still dealing with it. There's a little hope with the current administration that they could get involved and help me out with this.
That'd be good.
So we'll see.
You still have the monthly thing going, or
Oh yeah.
You still got to pay that, or they?
Yep. The next 15 years, don't miss a payment, or they'll come back after me, charge me back taxes, a whole bunch of threats. So yeah. Just evolved the best way I could outside the military, right? I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur. I haven't wanted to necessarily go work for somebody else after working for the man and the government.
Right.
I just didn't see that as a fun choice. So just kind of been a serial entrepreneur. I never in a million years thought I would write 3 books, but here we are. I never in a million years thought I'd be involved with a Hollywood TV show. That was a phenomenal, fun experience, which has led to more opportunities in that space. 7 seasons of a successful show. Taught me a lot. It taught me that Afghanistan is safer than Hollywood.
Really?
Well, less chance of getting shot in Afghanistan than Hollywood. Just kidding.
So you helped produce that show, right?
I put the whole thing together.
You did.
I sat down with Les Moonves, the president of CBS, when he was still there, and he asked me, "Hey, what does Hollywood do wrong with military content in Hollywood?" Great question. You don't hire enough veterans, and so Rambo comes out.
Right.
I'm like, I'm 5'10", 175 pounds, sopping wet. I do not look like Rambo. I'm not that tough. I don't. I'm like, but. Right, I did 13 deployments. Right, I was married, divorced. Like, there's a lot more than just the Rambo stuff that goes on in my world. And so, when I had the conversation with the CBS guy, I'm like, if you hire enough veterans, these authentic veteran stories would come through, and it wouldn't just be this chest beating Rambo show. It would be something a little more authentic. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And so, I'm very proud to say that by the end, we had hundreds and hundreds of veterans employed across that production. So when you may see the actors, but when the actors turn their face and they start moving tactically, it's all a veteran who's their stunt double. So the tactics look good, the movement looks good, the gear looks good, and the authentic storylines started coming out. And so that was 7 seasons. It was arguably a success, and so a lot of lessons learned through that. And so I've gone back to CBS with another idea. I won't get into it now, but we're in development. It's another military drama with CBS and some big actors that I worked with before. And so
each series, how did you come up with it? Real missions, or you just created missions? Or
no, not real missions. More took the character traits. Like, and if you've watched the SEAL Team show, all the characters, that each character is probably a combo of 5 to 6 different friends of mine, right? Put all the big character traits in those people. The missions were not based off true story, but just based off some of the things that would happen in a mission we would put in the show, right? I can't think of a good example, but.
So when you were producing it, were you on the sets and what you did?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I put former SEALs, a former Marine in the writer's room, because Hollywood, right? It's a whole group of writers that write these things. Well, without a veteran in that room, these Hollywood folks we were throwing nuclear hand grenades. Like, we don't have nuclear hand grenades, right? So there was no sanity check in the writer's room where they created the episode. And so I was like, no. I'm going to put multiple veterans in that room. So multiple veterans sitting in the room of writers. So when you started talking about nuclear-powered hand grenades, the veteran would be like, well, no, we don't have that. Here's the reality version, and put that back in. And so it sped up the pace of the production. It lowered the cost, because now instead of hiring a whole bunch of actors to play military guys, we hired veterans to play military guys. So it takes the civilians 2 hours to get dressed in the uniform to shoot the take, where the veterans, they're dressed in 10 minutes and we can shoot the take. It's quicker and easier. And so, we evolved a lot through that. And we've got another project in the works right now.
Well, I'm sure it'll be successful. I'm excited.
It's
about
Hollywood, so you never know. But
even not knowing about it, I'm excited to see it come out. So do you do motivational speaking or corporate engagements, or what else do you do?
I do. I've never advertised. I just put my own website out there, right? I'd never even done that. I've been very private, very, very private. My neighbors where I live have no clue anything about my background. I just blend in, and I'm very normal.
So Warrior Rising, a good friend of yours, I think, invited you to come out, and you're going to be the keynote speaker. That's tomorrow night.
So apparently, yes.
What's your topic, or what are you going to talk about? SEAL training and integrity and character and all the things that relate to people today.
Okay. So Casey Maxted is our mutual friend that got me here, right? He's former Army Green Beret, former law enforcement, just a phenomenal human being and American, and he's become a good friend of mine. So this is where it all started. He said, look, you got to come to Iowa and speak at my Warrior Rising event. And then you start asking, okay, what does Warrior Rising do?
Right.
I don't know how much you know about their foundation, but it's super cool, right?
Right.
It's kind of like Shark Tank,
Right.
but for veteran entrepreneurs. And I've been a veteran entrepreneur since
Right.
I got out. And so there's a ton of foundations out there helping veterans, from taking them hunting to getting them a working dog
Right.
to maybe even sponsoring their startup. And I think Warrior Rising's program is really cool. They're having some really cool effects. And then the veterans that they have in their orbit are all super cool because they're all entrepreneurs out there doing great things on their own. So yeah, Casey asked me to come up and talk. What I've put together for tomorrow is really, I've tried to pull from my military career and try and what I'm going to try and do tomorrow night, and you'll have to be the judge, is translate kind of my story and my experience as getting into the Navy, becoming a SEAL, all the challenges I've been through, translating them in a way that makes sense to a civilian audience. Because a lot of times civilians are like, oh, well, great, the Navy SEAL stuff's great, but I can't relate.
Right.
There's nothing I can relate to about the Navy SEALs. When I say bullshit, I think
Right.
there's a ton of things that
Right.
that civilians, and I don't know. I think there's a ton of similarities, and so that's what I'm going to attempt to break down.
Well, I think it's a great organization because, you got guys that are going to start a business or veterans that come home and how do we get going? You got kind of a Shark Tank. You got some people judging you. They're backing them with money, foundations, starting their own thing, and it gives them something to focus on, show some gratitude, and get something going for the rest of their life. So I think it's amazing. I think rather than, like you said, go hunting or whatever, I get those are some cool things too.
Yeah, I'm not knocking those. No. There's something for everybody.
Right.
And no disrespect to those other foundations. I
Right.
just, from an entrepreneurial mindset, I thought this was really fun.
Right. Well, I think most people want to help veterans. Most people appreciate the service, the love of their country. And I think when you see things like this, I think people want to get back. They just need to know how.
Yeah. Well, I love landed in Iowa here. I'm like, I've never been to Iowa before. But one of my best friends in Buds, he's from Iowa. He grew up on a pig farm in Iowa. His grandfather's pig farm. Had never seen the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Read some Navy SEAL books and was like, I want to be a Navy SEAL.
Right.
Leaves Iowa. I meet him in San Diego at Bud's training. He makes it through. Just a phenomenal guy, phenomenal career. Goes to Team 6. Just stud all the way around from Iowa. Sac City, Iowa. Up on a pig farm.
It's good farmland up there, by the way.
There you go.
And there's lots of hogs and cattle. So that's what you hear about Iowa. Oh, that's great. So what, you got the event Saturday night. What are you reading right now? You got anything that you dive into yourself?
Honestly, the stuff I'm reading right now is, it's edits of my third book that's going into hopefully print here soon. I read a lot of different, I don't want to call them scripts, but scripts for these TV projects that I'm working on. So I do more of that type of reading than right now.
So you edit the scripts and make sure that
it's
realistic.
Yeah. With the SEAL Team show, right? Each script that would come out of that writer's room, there were some veterans in the room, but there's some others, and these scripts get written, and as they go through the process into production, one of my key tasks was to always read those and be the sanity check. And maybe there's some things that sneak through and don't get stopped. And the nuclear hand grenade thing is a cheesy example, but it's a perfect example because that's the type of stuff that would happen if guys like me weren't involved in the process and didn't have the power. I was an executive producer, right? I had the title and the position to be like, nope, stop, change that, fix that. That's not accurate. And without me being in that position, there would have been tons of stuff that would have come up through. You would have seen a show that wasn't realistic,
right? And
people would have been turned off.
How is it today, or how would you speak about your faith journey, being raised by Christian missionaries and school teacher?
My faith journey has been, it was easier for me when I was in because I expected to get kicked in the teeth.
Right.
The military, you're going to war. You're going to lose friends. You're going to face these things. I knew head on, I expected all of them. when I left the military, I didn't expect the civilian world to be this. I expected different things. I don't know, I'd never been a civilian,
Right.
but I expected different than what I was living. I got out and got my teeth kicked in by my own government. I got divorced. I had a lot of stuff happen that I was not expecting. And that was where my faith was the most challenged because I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
When I was in, I was like, I'm expecting it.
Right.
Right, I've dealt with my fair share of survivor's guilt and all this other nonsense since getting out. And it's my faith that's kept me from going crazy.
Good.
Because I don't understand it.
Great.
I don't understand why some of my friends have died and I didn't. I don't understand a lot of things. But what I understand is I have faith that there's a God up there who's set all this stuff in motion and there's nothing I can do about it. Right.
It's in his hands.
That's it.
Right.
So whether I got shot in the face on a mission or whatever, I was at peace with that. When I was in, when I got out, it was much more challenging because I went through a whole bunch. It's been 10 years of drama from my own government that I never expected, would have never saw coming. And that has been much more challenging to my faith than in the military.
I read something where a history of the SEALs, which it seemed like the SEAL teams were more prevalent in Vietnam, Mekong Delta, and whatever, going up and down the Mekong and missions that they were doing. I think they were underwater frogmen, or what they called in World War II in Korea. And then during Vietnam, it amplified into the SEAL teams. I don't know if they called them SEALs.
SEAls in Vietnam, they started right off the beach, going further inland to conduct missions, and that was more Vietnam.
Right. And I also read that no SEALs ever been captured, no SEALs ever surrendered, and they've always come home. They always brought their bodies back, right? Have you heard that? There's nobody that's been left behind.
Yeah, I mean we've definitely lost guys, right? And left in the woods and the mountains, and we've had to go back and retrieve them. Yes,
right. But there's it sounds like nobody's ever been left behind.
Nobody's been taken alive.
And then before we finish here, I got a few other things. I'm sorry to skip around, but. And then I remember I read about the 40 Special Forces guys that were killed in the Chinook, and like 10 or 12 were SEALs. They were friends, or you knew them. Was that in Afghanistan? They were shot down on RPG.
The Extortion 17 happened a couple months after the Bin Laden mission.
Yeah.
I believe there's 22 SEAls that night with air crew.
All in one shot, which I'm sure that's hard to deal with all at once.
Go to 22 funerals in a week and tell me how you feel.
Oh, wow. Wow. That must have been awful. I usually like to close, if you'd help me with this, and just to think of 3 things that you've experienced in your lifetime. It's who's your hero? What's a highlight? And what would be a hardship? Those 3 things are kind of any order you want to take them: hero, hardship, highlight, however you want to do that in your life so far. In your life so far, in all the things you've been through.
The hero, my dad. My dad died last December of a 30-year battle with Parkinson's disease. I've said it before, right? He knew exactly that would take him eventually. He knew that would kill him. Never complained. Not once. Never, ever, ever heard him complain. Always heard him say this was God's gift to me, and it's how I respond to it. So I've tried to harness that as I've moved through my situation and how I deal with it. So there's my dad there. What was the second one?
Highlight and a hardship.
Highlights? I don't know. Everybody brings up the big missions as the highlights.
Right.
I could care less about those. I really could. Right? A bullet from Bin Laden's gun will kill you as quick as a bullet from a Taliban's gun.
Right.
So everybody else likes to make the big ones, Captain Phillips and the big, Bin Laden one, but I don't necessarily think those are the highlights. Highlights would be just staying alive through it all, not one thing. And what was the last one?
Hardship.
Hardship?
Biggest hardship.
Dealing with my government when I got out, period. I mean,
I purposely volunteered for all the hardest, most gnarly stuff that our government and military could throw at me. I smoked it all. I did fine. I got my ass kicked by my own government when I got out, and just was not expecting them to come after me, and the hypocrisy and just the not understanding, just all of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Trying to put me in, I served my country, and now I'm in debt for the next, I'll be 65 before I'm out of debt for my service.
Doesn't add up, does it?
No.
Doesn't make any sense.
So there you go.
Anything else you'd like to share with us today?
No, other than, my next book, No Easy Way, is a play off the first one, right? Because the first one's what's caused all this drama for the past decade plus, and a day, no easy day, right? It's the SEAL motto. The only easy day was yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? You come into work, there's a sign, you tap the sign, and that's you committing that you're going to work harder today than you did yesterday. Period. So no easy day. Well, there is no easy day. There's no easy way, right? Because what I've determined is, right, it takes longer than a day. Life is full of journeys, and some are good, some are bad. It's how you react to it. And so No Easy Way was born, and that'll be out here
soon.
Hopefully by Father's Day.
Great. Well, I hope it makes it. Well, Matt, it's been fantastic to talk to you. It's an honor. Appreciate your service, all the men that served in your teams, everything that you've done for your country. Just know there's a big crowd that appreciate what you've done. There always will be.
Thank you.
So anyway, we're just excited to have you here, and looking forward to hearing you Saturday night.
No pressure.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.
Good to see you.